Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Everything to Gain. My name is Dan Yu. Actually, I'm going to switch my mic, so I apologize for the interruption. My name is Dan Yu. You can find me at DanOU right over there on most social media platforms. Everything to Gain. Normally, it's Marc, Angelos, and I, but he has had technical difficulties this morning. So you get to look at my ugly face for the next half hour. Every show we talk about making positive changes in your life. So today we have regrets, and it's like the song My Way. Regrets, I've had a few. Now we are episode 14, so usually in podcast land I have just learned this, but usually it is 13 episodes a season. So we're technically in season 2, but I think we're going to drop the seasons. So we're just going to go with episode 14. So today, anyway, I want to thank the audience for joining. Really appreciate you all being here and listening in on Everything to Gain. So we'll start off. What is the definition of regrets? And I got this from the dictionary. To feel or a feeling of sadness, repentance, or disappointment over something that has happened or been done or missed opportunity. It's kind of like the Cher song, If I Could Turn Back Time, right? So that's really looking back, right? And so why do we have regrets? And it's really the difference between what we thought might happen and what actually happened. And that can be like a relationship. You had really big expectations, big hopes, right? So for a failed relationship, it ends up being such a regret, right? Oh, why did I spend all that time, right? I should have never done that. Or a bad job, right? That Marc is famous for saying that he's gotten laid off more times than anybody that he knows. I probably will come right behind that. So the things that we go into, the things that we have, a lot of emotional commitment. We've spent a lot of time. If it doesn't work out, sometimes we blame ourselves, right? So did we do something or did we not do something, right? Now, was it because of our actions or was it bad luck or timing? You just don't know, right? At the time that you're going through it. Sometimes you may have red flags though, right? So sometimes you have a red flag, like that's the big thing right now, kind of like on social media. What are the red flags that you have? Maybe that first date, there's a bunch of red flags that pop up. That's okay, right? You only had one date. Could be an interview, job interview that you had a bunch of red flags that you didn't realize from reading a job description. You apply to it, seemed pretty cool. You go in and meet the HR person, the recruiter, or maybe you met with the actual hiring manager and you just get a bunch of red flags. And that's a good time to exit. Recently, I came upon a post that it was talking to a hospice nurse. A hospice nurse was talking about the patients that they managed. The top 5 regrets for hospice patients. Here we go. I wish I had the courage to live a true life, a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. There you go. I mean, if that's number 1, you got to be true to yourself. Number 2, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. We spend all the time, working on our career, working in a job that may or may not actually make us happy. And what are we doing? We're taking away time from the people that probably matter the most. Number 3, I wish I'd had the courage to express my feelings. Sometimes you kind of hold back, right? That you bite your tongue, right? And in many instances, people are better seen, not heard, right? So number 4, I wish I'd stayed in touch with my friends. Right? You get busy, work, whatever. Stay in touch with the friends. There's many studies that say that if you stay in touch with your friends, you actually live longer, right? You have that connection, right? And it keeps you vibrant and live. And we have a comment from the audience. Look at this, Jess. Yeah, we could be overtime, right? Could be the OT. By the way, thank you for the comment, Jess. I encourage everybody in the audience. It's just me today, so we don't have Mark and I bantering about, but I encourage you to interrupt with questions and comments. I mean, it's just me, so I feel kind of alone, but I'd love to hear from the audience. Back to the top 5 regrets. Number 4. Oh no, that was I wish I'd stayed in touch with my friends. Number 5. This is kind of the crux of everything. I wish I had let myself be happier. Yeah, I mean, that's what we're in this for, right? We're really in this to have a happy life, have a happy existence. And so, what's kind of holding us back from that happiness? Well, kind of when you live in the past, right? There's a danger to that, and you're not accepting who you are today, right? You're just not accepting it, right? And in the end, you only have yourself. Kind of like me on the show. I only have myself. Well, at least I know a couple people are watching, so I appreciate you. But you got to be happy with it. You got to live it, right? And everyone says, "Well, I've got these regrets. How do I get going and move forward?" Psychologists have said that the human brain is actually typically wired to persevere, right? So I think it from a base standpoint, empathy and EQ, emotional intelligence for ourselves, is really the basis of everything that you should be living in, right? And for others, if they were affected by what happened, right? You got to have, if you did something bad or you did something regrettable, right? You got to have empathy for the people that were affected by what happened. I mean, I have regrets, absolutely, right? There's so many things that I've regret. I mean, that I've said many stupid things in my time. I've probably offended people, but ultimately, you gotta own it. So everyone forgets timing. That's another thing, right? So another concept that timing is everything in many respects, right? So what if we're worried about the future, right? And sometimes you can't control the future, and then you worry about it, and then you don't do the thing that you probably should have done anyway. And that concept is called catastrophizing. So when you imagine the worst possible outcomes, that is a typical thing for a lot of people, because we think we've seen really bad things, and so we worry, right? We worry, we imagine these things, and our imaginations can go wild. That psychologists have actually shown that 85% of what we worry about doesn't come true, and then another 12% isn't as bad as we thought it would be. So we're really catastrophizing about 3 to 4% of what might happen, possible, right? What is possible rather than what actually will happen. So 3 to 4%, we're spending all this time worrying, and then we don't do something, and when we should have just gone for it, right? So then that's a perfect reason for regret. So I think if you just own it, just own who you are. Oh, you lost me on LinkedIn, Aaron. Twitch stream seems fine. That's a good question here. Thank you for letting us know. Let's see here. LinkedIn says I'm still live. But anyway, I appreciate the comment, Aaron. Aaron, good to see you. As always, thanks for tuning in. And so just owning it, right? When you own the situation, when you own who you are, right? Even make fun of yourself, right? Humility in the face of embarrassment, or even just potential embarrassment, kind of takes the air out of the bubble, right? It's kind of lets it out. And so back to timing, right? When you're able to make fun of yourself, good things come and go, and bad things come and go. So if it's gonna come and go anyway, have a little humility and owning it. That's I think the key for not having regrets, and living without regret, to the best of your ability. Another a friend of mine used to say, "So what? Now what?" Right? Some bad stuff happened. So what? Now what? Now what are you going to do? Right? It's maybe I didn't get that job, or maybe I got fired from the job, or I missed out an opportunity. So what? Now what? right? Oh, I didn't get into that school, right? We have more comments here. Look at this. We have more comments on LinkedIn. Hi, everybody. What's going on? Anyway, so I appreciate you all for commenting and tuning in. Yeah, so you got to own it. You got to own it. You got to have a little bit of courage, right? And how do you move on? How do you really move on? Um, there's a couple things that I like to do with moving on. Jess, thank you very much. Link to connection is fine. Appreciate the update. Jess, long time. We actually got to catch up sometime. So how do you move on? Some of the things that I like to do, reach out to the person that you have had a beef with, right? Say you want to bury the hatchet. You want to move past. You want to move past. Because if you don't bury the hatchet, well, guess what? You're going to have that regret. You're going to carry that regret. Why are you going to carry that? Like, it just kind of gets heavier and heavier, right? And now, if the other side, if they don't want to bury the hatchet, that's your answer, right? Or if you got ghosted, that's your answer, right? Now, I apologize if I've if I've ghosted any of you, but I've had people ghost me, right? And I've actually reached out to some friends, that they, hey, let's bury the hatchet. I have no idea what happened, but it kind of happens, right? And that's your answer, though. And so you did your part to reach out, and you can kind of let go of that regret, that load, right? Now, if they respond, great, right? Positively or negatively, if they respond, there you go. Then you can kind of let go of that load. I think that's a super important thing, so that you can live, going back to living a happy life, right? So the less regret you have, and the more looking forward, right? If you look forward, I think that's going to be the key for people going forward, right? Especially in this time of immense change, right? You're we've got AI, we've got there's so many posts right now, and people lamenting about being out of a job, right? There's people been out for quite a while, right? And the kind of like the hidden job market. I'm sorry, the hidden job recession. Hidden job recession is a real thing. But you got to keep networking, got to keep getting out there, put yourself out there more. I'm coaching some people right now. They have a real reticence to posting. And I'm like, well, you got nothing to lose now. You're already out of work. You gotta post and keep posting, right? So that people have an idea of who you are. So 8 steps to a no regret life. There's definitely things you can do with that. Number 1, be self-aware. Owning it. Number 2, set meaningful goals, right? So you have meaningful goals, maybe in a couple different directions, so you're not getting stuck in one direction. And if you set meaningful goals in a few directions, then you'll have less chance of regret. Because if you set goals towards one direction and that fails, then hey, built-in regret right there, right? So, and then you have to pivot anyway. Focus on long-term decision making, right? If you can focus on the long term, well, guess what? Then you can pivot along the way. If you only focus on short-term decision making and something doesn't happen, well, then it's done, right? Then it's done. Be calculated. Number 4, be calculated in your risk taking. Got to take risks. Got to take risks because anything worth it has risk, right? So be calculated in it, and so that you don't necessarily shoot too far, right? And you don't worry about the outcome as much because those are achievable goals. Number 5, cultivate optimism with others, right? It will come back. So karma is a great thing. Karma's a great thing. And this is kind of why we do this show, right? We have this show because we want to bring optimism, right? It's all about making positive changes in your life. So we want to make sure that we're bringing a positive spin to, even if it's kind of a tough time right now, but making positive changes. That's what it is. Number 6, nurture your relationships. There you go. You learn more from people that you've never met, right? It's kind of been, we've talked about this several times on the show about networking. I got to nurture your relationships though, right? It's meeting new people, learning, but then also at the same time nurturing, right? So really taking care of the people that are important to you. Number 7, this one I love. Practice gratitude, right? So be thankful of what you have, right? So whatever you have, that's what you got, right? Can't wish for the next thing. If you're going to buy something, just to have it, well, then you're not really practicing with gratitude for what you have. You're always kind of that's a losing game, right? Materialistic type stuff. So, and number 8, reflect. Reflect on where you came from, the obstacles that you overcame, and where you would like to have your legacy be. I saw a really interesting interview with the head of the Savannah Bananas, which is it's kind of like Harlem Globetrotters baseball team, and they all have a great time. He said that during their interview process, um, that one of the things that they ask for is a resume of where you would want to be 5 years from now, right? Submit that as a resume. And I thought that was really full of EQ, right? Because it's all about setting goals. It's all about, where you would like to be. And then it's almost like manifesting it, right? And then you can reflect upon your legacy versus kind of like those meaningful goals, right? Going back to goal setting. So reflect on where you've been and keep planning for the future. So, if there's anybody with any questions, I would love to take your questions now. You guys have been very patient today with just me on the broadcast. Marc Angelo's having some difficulties, but would love any questions. If you have them, please put them into the chat. We can also play a little music here. The E2G theme song. Oh, we got a wait. Aaron McKelvey question here. What is my biggest regret? Probably not saying the things that I wish I could have said to the important people in my life. Right. So missing out on that chance. Staying in touch, right? Being present. We all get caught up in things, and I think from a base perspective, being present and not letting people know with my present self how I felt about them. I think about my grandparents. My grandparents, they were a huge part of my life, and then they weren't, right? So there's also some friends that that I've lost now. That said, the kind of definition around friends, right? Like how the friend structure is really built. The interesting thing is that friends are typically not meant to be around, right? I mean, we all kind of have our own goals. We all kind of separate. But I think having not having that timing or opportunity to say what I felt about that other person, that's a big thing. So I really encourage you to tell somebody you appreciate them, right? And say thank you, right? And we can be easy to say thank you to the person that gives us the coffee in the morning. But I think it's always key to to really tell the people that had a positive impact. Maybe it's a small impact, really acknowledge that, right? Because there's cost you nothing. So I can always get better at that. I think everybody can get better at that. I wish that's probably my biggest regret. So not being able to say what I really felt to some people. I mean, actually, that's number 4 on the hospice patient's top 5 regrets, right? So I wish I'd stayed in touch with friends. Actually, number 3 as well. I wish I had courage to express my feelings, right? It's all kind of tied in. So that would be my biggest regret. Anybody else out there would have any regrets, and like to share? Please do share. There's so many things that we can talk about around regret, but ultimately, if you live a true life, right, and you make yourself present with the most important people, I think that's the most important thing you can do, right? Time for what matters. So I appreciate you the question, Aaron, and hopefully that resonates with the audience. Any other questions for today? Appreciate you all being here. This is episode 14 of Everything to Gain. I'd like to give, if anybody's got any questions that are typing it in, I'll give a shout out to my good friend LJ Tisdale, also known as DJ Metronics. He is the composer of our theme song. He does great work, and he also performs live. He is a great partner to our show and to me personally, and he's been great. So if there are no other comments, I will end it here, and hopefully Marc's technical issues will be eradicated by next week. He definitely has regrets for not being able to show up today, right? Stuff happens though, right? And bad timing, and it wasn't something that he did really. It's just bad timing. So I'm sure he wanted to be here, and he's the best co-host because he's got terrific stories. Absolutely love doing the show with him. Another comment. Here we go. Oh, Aaron, thank you, sir. I appreciate you. I appreciate the audience. Tune in next week. We'll have another episode of Everything to Gain where we show up here and broadcast to you live to talk about making positive changes in your life. So we have more guests coming on. We have a whole slate of guests, and we'll be talking about that soon. So all right, everybody, thank you so much, and have a great weekend. Thanks. Bye-bye.